And I tell this story in the book, and it's the first time I've shared publicly. But when I was 12 years of age, I went through a really difficult weekend in the hands of a man who molested four of us, sexually molested. I'm sorry, five of us, my four friends and me, on a weekend campout. He positioned himself in our small town as a guy who liked to, you know, mentor young men. Really, he was a predator. But my dad didn't know it. The dads of the other guys didn't know it. And he would take us on camping trips. One time he took us on a camping trip. And as he unpacked the tents, he also pulled out his whiskey. And he had several bottles of whiskey. Now, Laura, as you can tell by looking at me, I'm an old man. This was back before we had cell phones. And we couldn't call our dads. We couldn't say, somebody come and get us. We were out in the middle of nowhere. And he worked his way through the sleeping bags of the boys and through the whiskey. And by the time it was time to go home Sunday evening, we were shame ridden. We were defeated. We were violated. Again, we're 11 and 12 years old. We don't know how to respond, right? And he told us, don't tell anybody. Nobody's going to believe you anyway. And so all those lies came into my head. So I get home. It's about 7 or 8 p.m. I walk in. I never say anything to my parents. That day at the church had a communion service. I knew they had a communion service. I knew I wanted to be a part of a communion. I wanted Jesus. Somehow I knew I needed Jesus. I waited until my parents went to bed, and I waited until I'd taken a shower and I put on my pajamas, and I went into our little kitchen, and I created my own communion service. I couldn't find any bread. Our parents didn't drink wine, but I couldn't find any grape juice. So I used potato and milk, believe it or not. I thought, this will have to do. And I stood there and I asked the Lord to help me and to meet me in that communion moment. And Laura, Jesus was there. He was in that kitchen. He was in that kitchen. And that moment healed me of what could have been some emotional scars. It healed me. And that moment, the presence of Christ in that moment has fueled my faith through many, many years. Now, I've not always been faithful to Christ, but he has always been faithful to me. And that moment really was a defining moment for me. And you asked the question, have I ever been lonely? That was the loneliest moment of my whole life. But Christ, he met me right there, immediately. And that's why I speak with such confidence when I say Christ will meet you. Christ will meet all of us. And maybe you've had a bad experience with religion, and maybe you've had bad experience with adults, or maybe you've had bad experience with some type of organized approach to spirituality. I'm really sorry about that. I have too. But Christ comes in spite of that into our lives. And I urge people, just give him a chance. You don't have to have communion, but you can, pray, open your Bible, kneel before him, ask for help. I believe that our Christ is just waiting to help people who will come to him and ask him for strength.